Okay, time for another Dharmic-filled episode of the Dharma Chronicles. We're headed out, and you may notice a bit of calmness right now, and that's because Mashka is not with me, because let's just say her milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. And I mean literally. She is becoming a young woman. And when I take her out on walks over the last couple weeks, wow, like talk about dogs coming out of their hiding places and just relentlessly following her. And kind of crazy, to be honest. So we're just gonna cross here, and we're gonna take a right this time. Just, I don't know. Okay, so a couple things. You'll be happy because the person who does my hair here, now she finally hired this lady who used to do my nails, but it just got really hard to make appointments with that lady to do my nails, so I just haven't done it forever. So anyway, now I've got appointments for all my grooming. Okay, and then the second thing is the subject of today. We are going to talk about vital balance, body systems harmony. This is a program that was developed by Katie, and she works with us. She's an excellent dream interpreter. She is also just a gifted and loving healing practitioner, and her dreams showed this excellent relationship with her angelic team to actually provide physical healing for people. So when she found out she had this gift, much like me, by the way, this is Ervis Venus, not dill. I was very disappointed when I found out it wasn't dill. You cannot find dill here, I'm telling you. Anyway, so she started, much like me, when she found out she got a gift, she was like, boom, going for it. So she started creating these healing meditations that are just excellent. And as I do, I like to know we're going to walk into the park, and wow, there's finally children playing here. I like to see people's dreams when they're going through any type of healing program, or when they've listened to one of my meditations, or really anything. Oh gosh, that's such a excellent sound. Thank you, Mr. Clown, for beeping that horn so that I can be attracted to the cotton candy that you're selling. Anyway, there's a skate park. So I am in the process of developing a dream tool to help the dream practitioners, the dream guides that I'm training currently in Dream Lab, to identify certain types of body systems from dreams, which they show up in very odd ways. Like it's not as difficult to like, oh well, you see your wrist in a dream or your toe or something, like that's different. I'm talking about some weird ways of things showing up in dreams. Oh, we are definitely going this way because I promised you guys a long time ago that sometimes they use horses as lawnmowers. And I'm just making that up. Nobody told me, oh yeah, we're using it as a lawnmower. But it seems really obvious. Anyway, I told you all, look, told you, there's a horse. So I'll cross the road so we can get closer. But, so I have been, over the last several weeks, using myself as a lab subject. So I've been a dream laboratory, and so has a couple of other people. And by the way, I'm still looking for volunteers. There's the horse a little bit closer. Cute little baby. Still looking for volunteers who want to go through one of these programs and let me use their dreams to develop this tool better. And of course, you'll get healing in the meantime, so why not? I'm doing this Vital Balance program. I did recently the brain vagus healing, and then I did the, nervous system, which it was so unique. Like, how do you think the nervous system shows up in a dream? How do you know the physical part of the nervous system? How do you think that shows up in a dream? Or the brain and vagus nerve. Well, I can tell you, one of the first dreams that I had when I was doing the brain vagus was this sort of box-like, but it wasn't a hard, like, totally square box. It was a little bit rounded, and then it had like a lightning bolt attached to the bottom of it. And then I had another dream with a garbage can, or two garbage cans. No, I'm saying this wrong. There was a garbage can, but it had two slots in it. And I think one was pink and one was blue. And then the openings were square-ish, but also rounded. And I ran this by Katie, and she said, oh, well, that first one is definitely the brain, like the rounded box being about the brain, and with the lightning being about the vagus nerve. Oh yeah, that's really interesting. And even the other one with the two roundish slots, guess what? The left and right hemisphere. So those are the kinds of neat things that are coming out of these dreams. I think I want to tell you about the latest healing that I'm doing, which is the heart and lungs. Now, she's had this one published for, oh gosh, here's some little doggies. She's had this one published for maybe a year at this point. And a few other people have experimented with it. Of course, it's a program that we have on through the Dharma Vita. So anybody can go on there and sign up for Vital Balance. There's 4 different categories, and they are 4-week programs, healing programs, and the heart lungs is one of them. There's other there are other body systems in the heart lungs, and the way that we have them categorized, they're meant to work with the other, with the whole system. And so you're not just getting work on the heart, work on the lungs, you're getting still like a whole system work over. Anyway, so I've been doing these heart lungs, and why don't you just play along with me and tell me, what do you think? How do you think the physical structure and function of the lungs might show up in a dream? Because this showed up so obviously. It was so neat. What do you think? How do you think the lungs might show up in a dream? Well, let me give you a hint. Now, this isn't the only way, of course, it's not. And of course, some of my dreams have had callers. Like there was a caller in one of them that was the color blue. So, quite clearly about the throat chakra, about expression. But this one last night was about very, very, very tall pine trees. And what are trees but the lungs of the earth? They breathe like we breathe. Not just like, but they breathe, and they turn carbon dioxide into a physical, useful molecule. Anyway, so in my dream, I am being recruited for coming back to my old industrial hygiene job. I used to be an industrial hygienist, and in part of that, I did a lot of indoor air quality inspections and testing and troubleshooting, fixing, and all this kind of stuff. So indoor air quality, hey, there's another symbol for working on the lungs, right? So perfect. So let me let this motorcycle pass. So in the dream, I'm going to try it out for a few days and see if I like it still. And there's some test results that have come back from a air quality test. And these results came from way up high in the canopy of these tall pine trees. And let's just take a side note here and talk about pine, because I didn't know about this until I told Penny about my dream. And she was so excited about it because she said, oh my gosh, pine is used regularly for respiratory distress. And she named off a handful of other properties and illnesses and whatnot that pine is used for. We're going to cross the street. I've never gone this way, so I'm going to go this way. Because if we go the other way, we're going to walk past a school, which is fine, but I want a little more time to talk to you guys. So isn't that like so functional? As I've always said, the things that come up in dreams are going to be so perfectly what they need to be for you. So I said, well, about this air quality test, I said, well, I remember last time getting the results of this test, and there was a lot of sulfuric acid. And think about that too. highly toxic, highly, and it's not natural for our body to have sulfuric acid in it. And I said, but this time, I know the test results are going to have something like phosphorus or phosphoric acid. I said something like that. And I think that was essentially the dream. And like, to me, that was just the coolest thing because, I think it was like the phosphate ion. I think that's what it was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Our dreams aren't always so accurate, but this tells me that, wow, that vital balance healing is really getting at the physical workings of my body, my lungs. And that, like, it's just super cool. In another dream that I had last night was this woman I used to subcontract for from the American Lung Association. So that's clearly about the lung. At any rate, our dreams will give us the remedy. Sometimes they will tell us, what do we need? Go and buy this. Go and do this therapy, this, an herb or something like that. But sometimes the dream space will bring in that remedy. And it's just a feature of dreams, again, that I've seen so many times. I remember this one time, I was having some stomach trouble, and at this time, I didn't really know the extent to which medicine would show up in a dream. But that, like one of the nights that I was having this stomach trouble, I dreamed about this chicken and just lots of noise. Concrete shock, of course, something. Alright, I dreamed about this chicken that came and it was somehow maybe eating from this little shrub, and I looked closer at it. I thought it was grapes. It was like something purple. And then I looked closer and noticed that it was Oregon grape. And you know how their like leaves are really pokey and they have, that kind of reminds me of holly. Anyway, let me cross the street here. So many noises. Oh, I should say sounds. So many beautiful sounds. I have walked this way with Mashka before, and this was the route, but I'm going the opposite direction of where I was doing the podcast when Mashka started following me. So the Oregon grape. So look that up, right? And of course, look up the homeopathic remedies associated with pine. I had no idea. I did not know that pine actually was any type of remedy. I mean, I know it as a tree, and I like the way it smells, but it drops a lot of pitch onto my car. I know that much. Anyway, look that up. And the sounds in Caxias. Okay. So look that up. I think you'll be amazed. Look up the remedies or what Oregon grape is used for. Of course, after I had that dream, oh my goodness, it's like, oh, ooh, the music of Caxias. Look it up. Look up what Oregon grape does. Okay, I had to say it really fast. You will be amazed. And people, this is what you have available to you. And it makes it even more powerful when you seed yourself, right? So you seed yourself, you seed your dreams for the night. You can do this yourself, quite simply. Now, it works better for some than others, but I've seen it work time and time again, where you just ask yourself, please, like, bring me some information about, and then fill in the blank. So I'm gonna cross the street here, and I'm going to tell you another dream that I had that occurred because I asked my dream self to give me the information that I needed. But first I want to tell you another way, and this is obviously what I do because people come to me for assistance, so I use my way of providing assistance in their dreams. So I have many series of recordings, meditations, healings that I give people to help them, to help come out in their dreams what needs to come out. So obviously, I would love for you to come to Dharma Vita, book a free discovery session with me or Melissa, and we will work that out for you. So here's a dream that happened. So my little Mashka, when we came back from 2 weeks away from home, we couldn't bring her with us. So she went to a pet care facility called, big truck next to me. I don't know how to say exactly the name. Hotel Peludos Amigos, something like that. Just wonderful group here in Caxias. It's right next to a veterinarian office, so they have vets on staff. They have, everybody trains the dogs. Your dog gets to interact. So in the United States, my other dog was, before she passed away, a pit bull, and she never got to do that kind of thing. She never got to interact with other dogs. I got her after she was already severely traumatized by humans, and she just couldn't be around other dogs. And so she never got to do that. In fact, the only time that she got to go off leash in anywhere except for inside was when I took her to Russia, and she had surgery there. She had cancer, and it was far cheaper to bring her to Russia for the treatment. Like, you won't believe, that's a whole other story. Anyway, by the way, after that treatment, she was alive for another 5 years, I think. Anyway, when I took her there, I let her off leash and in the forest. Oh, she was in heaven. Okay. So anyway, Mashka, she gets sick. She was at this hotel, and that was fine. Like, that didn't make her sick. But there's some kind of allergen that I hadn't figured out yet. I think I got it, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'll probably seed my dreams, but I wanted to finish some of my vital balance stuff. Anyway, I said, oh, her stomach was a mess, and she had a rash all over her body, very itchy. And I asked my dreams, please tell me what I need to know. Tell me what I need to know to help Mashka. And guess what happened? I had a dream with, the main things in that dream, it was a fairly short dream, so it was really helpful in that it was short, but was the color peach, and it was a specific hoodie that I have in waking life. And then at the very end of the dream was a voice that said rosemary. So I immediately, of course, looked up rosemary, and lo and behold, and look it up yourself and look and see what's it known for and how can it help dogs. I was just blown away. I didn't know this. I don't know these things, people. It was just mind-blowing. Anyway, I got that, and I got that out of the dream. And then I was a little bit perplexed about this peach colored hoodie. So I said to myself, okay, well, what's the deal with this hoodie? And as soon as I asked that question, I turned and looked at the counter, and one of Mashka's toys was sitting there, and it was a pine cone. And isn't that interesting how we were just talking about pine? Well, if you look that up, it also helps for diarrhea. And that's the thing. She had it so bad. And then I thought, okay, I don't see any pine trees. I don't see how I'm going to have access to pine. So, And then I thought, well, I think I need to go look at the hoodie that I have, because it has a picture of a bear on the front of it, but various other things on the front of that hoodie, around, like things that are surrounding the bear. And I just looked at the picture, and the very first thing I saw were 2 pine cones. So I said, okay. And then I put it together, like, oh, well, I always think rosemary looks like little pine needles, and it's very fragrant. Of course, it smells like rosemary, not pine, but it looks like needles from a tree. I mean, maybe not pine tree, but either way, it looks like little needles from a tree. So that was enough. So we went to the store. I bought some rosemary. It's a little bit harder to find homeopathic kind of things here. Well, for me, I don't know all of the places that have that kind of stuff here. So I'm sure it's here. Either way, I'm just telling you all this because I asked my dreams and they delivered. So very quickly after using those remedies, Mashka started to get much better, and that everything is gone except for some remaining itchiness. I don't see the rash anymore. She also had some broken skin. All of that is healed, and it's really only been a matter of a couple days. So, very powerful dreams that we all can have. And so I just encourage you too that if you're struggling, emotion, health, like sometimes our health challenges are, they become physical. They weren't physical until they were. Until they, the density of it hardened, and now it's, okay, here's something that you cannot ignore. Also, another thing that I find in dreams, I'll just say this. Another thing that I find is that we have our own little dream doctors within us. And when we're sleeping, our dream doctors do the diagnostics. They check, is this okay? Is that okay? Somebody just came to me the other day saying they had this dream and there was this place high up that was being swept out. And this particular person had been having a really hard time sleeping without an aid. And they said, I've really got to do it. I've got to start sleeping without this. So they did it, and they said that they also had slept through the night for the first time without that aid. And when even before they told me that, I said, I think that's just your little, sorry, I'm still working out my little bit of a cold. Well, I think that's your little dream doctor telling you, or like sweeping out your brain, like doing like clearing your brain every night. And he said, oh wow, I really need that because last night was the first time that I slept without that, or slept through the night without that sleep aid. So there you go. Really neat stuff. Really, really neat stuff. So guess what? We are almost back home, and maybe I can do the outro. Gosh, I haven't made an outro yet. This has been Janice Stoll-Eurova from the Dharma Vita. No, I'm just kidding. That's the way that I said it before. Obviously, I'm not creative right now. So yeah, I'm not going to do the outro. But with that, Janice out.